Hey, Alicia. Seth. Here we go. Hey, Seth. Sweet.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing?
Good. Hope you are.
Oh, another beautiful day in the great state. And if it's not, fake it till you make it. You know the rules.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maggie, do you know if Reginald's going to get the chance to join us?
So I am not sure about that. He is at the city council meeting this evening,
Gotcha.
so I may cover down in his place.
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable, which I'm sure you are. Just want to know who to call on when it
Yeah,
comes to.
yeah.
Hey, everybody. We're just waiting a minute to let folks join, as usual.
Hello, I'm joining you guys. I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Hey, Tanya.
Hey, I'm joining you guys for about 30 minutes, then I have to hop off to a city council meeting.
Okay, thanks for joining us. For those of you who aren't able to be with us on Saturday, Tanya is the director of strategy. Yes? No?
Assistant Director of Strategy.
Perfect. Okay, I was pretty close.
Very close.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
At the Community Development Department, and she assisted with our retreat on Saturday, which was great. I'm going to give us all about another minute, and then we can go ahead and get started. Thanks, everyone, for your attendance so far. All right. We do have more than quorum as usual, so thank you all for your attendance. If folks pop in, I'll make sure to mark them present as we go. Valen is traveling, so I'll be doing our roll call today, just so no one is surprised. But welcome. Thank you all to be here for being here on Monday evening. And we'll talk more about it later, but thank you for those of you who are able to make it to our retreat on Saturday as well. But I will officially call this meeting to order, and I will also complete roll call. So first up, Valen Alfred.
You are unmuted. Hi, I'm here.
Hey, Valen.
Hi.
Ahmed Ali.
Here.
Robert Brown.
Here.
Alicia Curry.
Here.
I myself am present. Rashaki Furness.
Present.
Sherrod Johnson.
Here.
Amy Jones.
Here.
Brian Langlois, I don't think I see Brian. Richard LeBennett. Seth Candle.
Here.
Matt Muntean requested an excused absence, and then Ann Rebeck. And I'll keep an eye out for them as we go through. Thanks, y'all. So the first thing up on our agenda, oh hey Reginald, is our minutes review and approval. Those didn't get sent out in time, so in June we will approve, review and approve the minutes for both April and May, due to kind of some unforeseen circumstances. So I appreciate y'all's understanding about that. And then next on the docket, and Reginald, I know you just joined, but next on the docket is the departmental update, if you're able to give it. If not, Maggie did volunteer in your absence.
Well, Maggie, if you can share what you would like to share, that would be great.
Perfect. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. So a couple updates, and some of these announcements are going to be reiterations from Saturday's CAC retreat. But the first update is tomorrow, our office is actually hosting our HUD CPD field office based out of Greensboro. They are doing a tour of the Choice Neighborhood Initiative site and the Southside Revitalization area. So we're partnering with DHA to administer a tour to 10 staff members from our field office. So that's really exciting that we'll be doing that work. And then on May 30th, Reginald will be going before City Council to present some highlights for the FY25 budget process. And please be on the lookout for that. We will be presenting to them. We are also preparing the release of a minor repair and substantial rehabilitation RFP. Hopefully that will be released this week. So that will go out via our listserv. We also met our CDBG timeliness test. That was on May 2nd. So it's an annual test that happens where HUD is assessing that there's no more than 1.5 times our current year's allocation sitting available or unexpended. So we did meet that test, which was great news. As well, HUD released our federal grant allocations for the upcoming program years. That's FY24-25. And we did experience some decreases in entitlement allocations for CDBG, home, and ESG, and an increase in our HOPWA allocation. I'll just read those allocations out loud for folks. Our CDBG allocation is $2,002,760. Our home allocation is $1,040,306. Our ESG allocation is $179,195. And lastly, our HOPWA allocation, which increased, is $1,103,729. So with those allocations, they were not released until May 7th. That does adjust the annual action plan timeline that I presented to folks back in January or February. I don't remember the exact month. But what that does is delay the submission of our annual action plan by 60 days from the date that those allocations were released. So those are the couple updates I have. Reginald, I don't know if you want to add too.
No, thank you. You did a marvelous job, Maggie. I would just want to say thank you all for those who participated in the retreat. I hope that you found it beneficial on Saturday. I enjoyed it. Team Tenya, who was on, and also Maggie enjoyed it as well. And so I thought it was awesome, great questions, and a lot of information was shared. I would also share that I will be getting off if we don't end because the manager is presenting her budget tonight at the city council meeting, and I'm taking this call at home, but I have to get up to City Hall. She will make reference to the work that we are doing in affordable housing area in her budget remarks. I've seen some parts. Well, I've been asked to provide information, so I'm sure that she'll be using it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that starts at 7 o'clock, and this will be the first thing up in the council meeting. And so y'all can watch it by video, but I have to be in person. That goes with the job. But I just want to let everybody know that, and think that that's about it. I think everyone has met Tanya by this time, who's our assistant director for strategy. Been on board for about 6 weeks now.
Thanks, Reginald. Thanks, Maggie. And Tanya did let us know she's going to have to go to the meeting as well. So totally fine whenever you all need to drop off. We appreciate your continued work and advocacy for affordable housing in front of the city council and other venues. Great. That actually transitions perfectly into kind of a recap of our retreat on Saturday. As Reginald said, he and Maggie and Tanya were there to present to us. We did use the whole time. And it was really great. Those of you who were able to be there, thank you again for your attendance. We can also just popcorn if people have like impressions or like quick takeaways. I personally am so glad that we've made this a recurring thing. I'm very grateful to you all for your time and also to the city staff and their time on a Saturday outside their normal working hours to keep us engaged and informed as a group. But those of you who were there, if folks want to just, if there's anything you took away or any impressions you'd like to, we're Shocky. Perfect.
I just wanted to echo some of your sentiments and thanking, the CAC staff, as well as the board members that were there in attendance, simply because, as Reginald said, they asked great questions. And it was really helpful for me having, being seated on the board for a while now. I am very thankful that we kept the date that we kept so that I was able to attend, because a lot of dots were connected for me. So it was wonderful. And I just want to say thank you.
Thanks for talking. Amy?
Yeah, I'll agree. So I had to miss it last year. I think it was my nephew's graduation. And so I'm grateful that I was able to join this year. But I'll say like my biggest takeaway, I was sitting next to Alicia and she heard me say this 1,000 times, that like I just gained such a strong appreciation for the complexity and just like the bonkers number of layers that the federal government puts on things. When you're like, they just picked May 2nd. Like they literally just picked this date, May 2nd. And now like your whole world revolves around it, like, and just like all the little details to keep in place. And no big deal if you mess up. The penalty is just like federal execution. I don't know, like it was very much, I gained such a strong appreciation for all of the moving pieces that your team and Maggie, specifically the work that your team does to get these dollars where they should be, to help make Durham a better place to live.
Thanks, Amy. Anyone else? Oh yeah, Robert, go ahead.
I'd just like to say thank you for taking the time, Reginald and Maggie, to go through all of the, like Amy said, all of the iterations of what you have to go through to do your jobs. This was really informative. It was really like Amy again says, it connected all the dots. It just is something that the entire board could have appreciation for, the work that you guys are doing and the great things that are happening in Durham. So again, thank you both. I had fun. I enjoyed all the learning and all of the information that you shared.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I hope we keep doing this. I'll sit in it every year. I think it's wonderful. Just as a refresher, if nothing else. And I think for me, like sitting on this committee, like coming up on my 3-year mark and being in the community and talking to people about what I do, like on this committee and what we do in my spare time, I think it's very hard sometimes to see the complexity from the outside, even if you are more privileged like we are to get that information. It's still hard to see why things aren't happening the way we might want them to, or as quickly as we might want them to. And so I think it makes us better advocates to the community and for the community to understand, like, and this is just one source, right? This is just one type of way that the affordable housing landscape functions. And so I super appreciate all the work that goes into that and y'all's engagement. It's been wonderful. All right. Is there anything else folks would like to say? Doing good? Great. All right. Maggie, I'm going to tap you in a little bit. Just going over what's going to go on for our June meeting, which will be a recognition dinner, both for the board and for some of the grant recipients.
Yes, okay, thank you, Leah. So, as Leah had stated, and I think there's an exchange in the chat, so our June meeting will be the recognition dinner in person here at Community Development, so 516 Rigsby Avenue, an opportunity to celebrate and recognize the great work that some of our partners and subrecipients, nonprofit organizations, developers, all those folks are doing to advance affordable housing initiatives. So really just take an opportunity to celebrate them, also celebrate the committee and the work that's been done, recognize folks who are transitioning out of their role or their appointed position, their terms concluded. So it'll be kind of twofold in that regard. There's a lot of administrative and logistical work that's going on kind of behind the scenes for that. So some of the big highlights is we've secured food. So that is secured for the event. And we will also, it's being sponsored by the local government federal credit union. So they are providing the food for us to eat. And then also they will be administering a presentation just about some of the services that they render. And then we'll go into our scheduled programming for the evening. So that's, again, recognizing some of the organizations. So I do have quite a few due outs to folks. Wanted to send out an invitation to the committee, so you all have that. Hopefully my calendar invitation and then email invitation works, that format for folks. So to get that out. And also, again, just some of the administrative work of confirming attendance, who will be there, and that sort of work. But we're developing a script and a program, and it will be, again, here in CDD. So the gathering, it's not going to be too formal of a setting, but we'll all come together during that time. So just again, to emphasize, in person, 516 Rigsby Avenue. Next month, June 24th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the planned time frame.
Thanks, Maggie. And Amy asked in the chat earlier, and just to make sure we address it aloud. Oh, sorry, Amy, 1 second. Just as to the like, this is our meeting, right? This is a public meeting, it's a public forum. We will not be meeting twice in June, just so that's why it's kind of going to be at our regularly scheduled time. Maggie, I'll let you handle Amy's question in the chat, which is who's providing the food, and then Rashaki will go.
Maggie, I'll handle him. Yeah, what Maggie had shared was the food is being provided by local government federal credit union and civic federal credit union. These are credit unions that local government workers and their families can join. And actually, you are actually in the field of membership as a citizen appointed board. You can actually join local government federal credit union and or civic federal credit union. They'll talk about the difference. One is digital. Civic federal credit union is all digital. But one of the things is that because you're in the field of membership, they of course want to share and promote the work and services that they do. And of course, with the cost of our food is to hear what they have to say. And so we will gladly do that because they are providing very generous food for us to eat. I would also say that both of the credit unions have a foundation that provides work and funds to organizations across the state of North Carolina that and health and affordable housing and different areas. I'm actually serve on the board of directors of the local civic foundation. And so, of course, I have a great relationship with those at the credit union. And so I just would share that I'm one of the members who represent Durham and serve on the board. And so I'm always glad to have them here. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks for the explanation, Reginald. Rashaki, was that your question as well?
Oh, no.
Oh, go ahead then.
I actually, now just to follow up, I'm also a member of the local government federal credit union. It's a great credit union. And I really had a comment, not a question. I just want to, again, thank you all for bringing that back. Reginald, you said that you used to do these dinners pre-COVID probably, right? And so I'm just excited to see it coming back. So thank you.
It blossomed out of our community development week. So thank you for those of you that were speaking to others and made the recommendation. Happy to have this. And then one more thing about the LGFCU. I am not myself a member, but they are, I believe, affiliated in North Carolina with the State Employees Credit Union as well, if you're a state employee. So just a little PSA. I did Google them the first time Reginald brought them up because I hadn't heard of them before. So it was interesting. But yeah. Well, thank you. And I'm sure, more information will be forthcoming, but regular time, regular day at the Community Development Department building. Looking forward to having some fun and some fellowship with you all. All right. Our next agenda item is voting for the executive board. It is crazy that the year is almost up, but it is. So I am new at running this process, but I will try to do it as best I can. I know that Maggie has a poll set up for the actual voting piece. Before we do that, we can do the nominations, and then if folks have prepared anything to say. Since our chair race is competitive, I think I'll do that last and kind of build to it. So sorry, Sherrod, to jump this on you, but I would like to nominate Sherrod Johnson for secretary of the CAC for the upcoming year. And Sherrod, if you want to say something, you can. You don't have to, no pressure. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Hoarse, for those of you. So no problem at all. There were no other nominations. I do want to emphasize, if someone wants to nominate themselves now or nominate someone else now and just didn't let me know about it, that's fine. It's still an open meeting. But as we go through, just keep that in mind. But if there are no other nominations, then I'll proceed to vice chair. And I would like to nominate Rashaki Furness as vice chair for next year. And Rashaki, if you'd like to say a few words, you're absolutely welcome to.
Y'all know I want to say something. I want to start, Leah, with just thanking you for the nomination and for your phenomenal leadership this past year. I'd also like to express my support of Valen and Sherrod's nominations. And lastly, I just wanted to share that I appreciate all I've learned during my time on the board thus far. I'm excited to step into more of a leadership role, hopefully. And I look forward to all that we'll accomplish together in the coming year.
Thank you, Rashaki. I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful experience being with y'all in this position. And then finally, we have two nominees for chair. I'd like to nominate, and she's on the phone, but Valen Alfred for chair. Valen, if you'd like to, oh, there we go. Perfect.
Am I unmuted?
You're good, yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I want to echo Rashaki's sentiments and start by thanking you, Leah, for your leadership and just helping to facilitate our understanding and engagement with the Community Development Department. I joined this committee as a native of Durham. I graduated from Durham Public Schools. Shout out to Southern High School. And so having grown up in Black Wall Street, matriculated through DPS, and then it went to the state schools in North Carolina, went to UNC Greensboro, got my master's in social work from Howard University, and stayed away for a while. So when I returned to Durham in 2017, it definitely was not the place that I had left really in 2004. And so as Durham is rapidly changing, my passion and my purpose for joining was to represent the natives of Durham as Durham rapidly changes, so that we can have a happy mix of old and new. I think change is good. I also have seen where change in Durham has negatively and adversely impacted people who, 3 or 4 years ago and before COVID, worked good jobs at Duke Hospital or, at the universities, and made a decent salary and lived pretty well. And as we've seen larger companies come in and different organizations, which is really revitalizing Durham in some ways, it's sort of an area of opportunity and a weird juxtaposition of sort of old and new. And so adding a voice to this committee as the chair, where we can continue to engage with community development that really serves as a conduit for citizens, and then the different organizations that work to help us have affordable housing, but more importantly, decent affordable housing and affordable housing that is attainable. I think it's all very nuanced terms. Even though I wasn't at the retreat on Saturday, I did attend last year. And so I think unpacking some of the nuances of all these terms and all the intricacies in a way that is tangible and palpable and relevant to the people who have lived here and the people who are coming here will be my goal and purpose as chair, and really invigorating the committee and getting input from everyone who's a part of the committee, so that we all can lead in a way that really invites more citizen participation, as well as represents the citizens to our community leaders and government officials. So thank you for the nomination, and I'm going to go back on mute, but I obviously nominate myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Valen. And then Robert, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, I'm Robert, and I too am a resident of Durham and been in Durham most of my adult life. And I joined the board with the intent of being able to help inform the community of the good things that were going on with this board. So I'll be sort of brief here. My interest in becoming chairman and actually taking the position as vice chair last year was to help the community, to help them to realize the things that the city was doing, to help get this information out. Because as a community advocate, which is what I call myself, I've noticed that people in our community don't know what this board is doing. They have no clue. I've sat through 2 cycles on the board of elections, and fortunately, I was appointed the vice chair last year. First cycle I sat through, I think there was maybe 1 citizen that joined the board, maybe 2, maybe one in our meetings, maybe 2. This last year, we haven't had any citizen involvement. So yeah, it's more of a political body, the board is at this point, but we have people that are asking questions all over our community about the work that the city's doing. So that's my interest in working with the board in a way where we're not all here monthly, not using our time wisely, meaning that having subcommittees, working with the city staff to get the message out and work with city council. So that's my my reasoning for nominating myself.
Thanks, Robert. And then if there's nothing else that folks want to say, Maggie, I guess we can do the poll.
I'm going to give
Magic of Zoom. What?
Yeah, I'm going to give this poll a try, everyone. I think it'll work. It is going to be, you're going to have to type in, because you'll have to type in responses is what you'll see. But okay.
Everyone's a write-in.
Okay. So hopefully it's popped up for everyone.
Maggie, it's saying that hosts and panelists cannot vote.
Well, that's not good. Uh, okay. Give me one moment then.
Yeah. Take your time, please. I know this is a lot. So this is the first year we've actually used the technology that we use to meet to do this.
Can you enter now?
Yes, I can. Can others type in? Perfect. Valen, are you able, since you're on a phone, are you able to vote?
No, I'm not able to vote, but I verbally write my name.
Sure. So yours, and then I assume the other two that are running unopposed.
Yes, I vote for Sherrod and Rashaki and myself.
Thanks for saying that, just for the record. I want to make sure everyone's included. So we should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 folks. So Maggie, when folks have all voted, just let us know. I know you're collating, so don't let me interrupt you.
I'm ending poll.
Yes, Rashaki. Oh, okay. No worries.
Okay, Leah, if you can give me just one moment to tabulate this. Thanks
Yeah,
very much.
absolutely. No, no problem. It happens. Um,
Okay, sorry about that all. That was some manual calculation, so just need to make sure the numbers are right. So I'm gonna read off the number of votes for each corresponding person. So for the position of chair, there were 7 votes for Valen, 1 vote for Robert, 1 vote for Sherrod, and 1 vote for Rashaki. For the position of vice chair, there were 8 votes for Rashaki, 1 vote for Sherrod, and 1 vote for Valen. And for the position of secretary, there were 9 votes for Sherrod and 1 vote for Rashaki.
Thanks, everyone. Seems like maybe some of the the order was maybe a bit confusing. But yeah, thank you all for your engagement and congratulations to our fiscal year 24-25 executive committee. I'll quiet clap because I don't want to blow everyone's ears out with my speaker.
Thank you, everyone, for your support. I'm looking forward to the upcoming year.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you all for that. The next thing on our agenda is just some ground rules examples. So I don't know if you'll remember, it was a few meetings ago, but before the mayor was supposed to come visit us, we had talked about some revisions to the bylaws. Those went through, there was no issue. So thank you all for your work on that. But it was taken note of that unlike some other newer committees, we actually don't have like norms or ground rules, something that a lot of you are probably familiar with through your personal or professional lives. For example, one of our sister committees, the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee, on which I sit on behalf of the CAC, does have kind of a ground rules document that gets sent to new members as part of that packet. And we thought it might be worthwhile to have a discussion among ourselves, and especially because we're going to have some folks rotating off and we're going to have a lot of new members probably between now and the fall, just to kind of establish some of those norms or ground rules. These are probably going to be broad, but we really want them to be collaborative and co-created with you all. So just as, you know, get us in line with some of the other committees, create some standards around our work and how we engage in this group, as well as even things like technology, right? All of that has changed since before COVID, since we meet via Zoom, and there's no, as far as I know, immediate plans for that to change. So yeah, that's kind of an intro to this discussion. I do have some examples that Maggie and Reginald provided a while back. Again, we were, I think, supposed to talk about this last month, but the mayor came unexpectedly and we ended up moving this discussion item. So I know to Valen, if you had, because you had mentioned something and now I'm forgetting, is there, or Robert, anyone from the executive committee or from the city, was there a way that we were going to start this process? I feel like I'm forgetting it, is why I'm asking, and I'm sorry about that.
I would say, go ahead, Michelle.
Well, it's balanced.
Okay,
I was just going to say, I think we had said we were just the executive committee was going to share if we had any suggestions to get the conversation started.
Yeah. And thanks, Valen. That's helpful. And then Ahmed in the chat said, "Are there templates?" I'm gonna put. Let me see here. I have the Affordable Housing Implementation Committees, and again, we don't have to adopt any or all of these. These are just ideas. So that's the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee ones. You'll see that some of them are related to like Zoom meetings and some of them are related to other things. And then here are some other ones that community development themselves uses, both norms as a department and kind of in their meeting spaces. Two different kind of examples. First, the department norms, which are, I would say, more values-based. And then some that are kind of a mixture, I think, of like a values ground rules, which is that third set of examples. So I'm going to give everyone, if we want, just like a minute to read over and process. And then maybe we can have a discussion around which of these or additional ones ring true to us. Thank you, Reginald. Appreciate you being here. Good luck at the council meeting.
thank you.
Bye, Reginald.
Bye.
Leah, I have kind of a, I guess, a comment. So the first one looks like, what is the name of it? I'm sorry, I'm on the camera on my phone, so I can't see.
Oh, you muted yourself for Shaki.
Okay, thank you. The first one you posted seems more like the actual rules of engagement, and then maybe the second one is an associated definitions that would be included, when it's sent out to everyone upon joining the board.
Yeah, so the first one, they're just all examples, so we don't have to use any or all of them. The first one is just a really specific example from a sister committee. If we wanted to use that as inspiration or a basis. The others are, like I said, more values based, and those are actually from the community development department. But thank you for the question, Amy. Yes.
I also think that they feel the first group that was shared feels quite different from the second and third even, or no, I guess there was just that one's broken into two. But to me, the second group, the community development department ones, feel more like ongoing. These are people who are working together all the time, and so like those are the types of norms that you would expect to see in that type of a setting, and that's not us. Like I think if anything, it makes more sense for us to have like meeting norms, which are much more like what the first ones feel like. I mean, like the other ones are nice. Like I'm obviously not opposed to accountability and honesty. Like those are great things, but like it feels like we might be overthinking it a little bit to put some of those in place from my perspective. I mean, again, I'm not opposed, but it just feels like we would be overthinking it a bit, because like what we really would need is meeting norms. And I like the meeting norm about you got to put your camera on if you're speaking, because I'm somebody who has to watch your face and kind of read lips when you're speaking because I'm hard of hearing. And so but those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, Amy, that the first and even the third ones are a lot more about meeting rather than kind of group, if that makes sense. Seth.
I just want to echo Amy's position. I agree. I do think it's possible that we can kind of combine them though, or use both in 2 different ways. If we wanted to create a set of values or mission statement, or we already have a mission statement that comes out of our mission statement and a set of norms at the same time, it might be something that we might want to look into as well. I do have some concerns about the requirement to be on camera. Just for example, for Valen this afternoon, multiple times I'm in the same boat of we may get caught up at work and may have to join the meeting while on the road. And I don't want to limit anyone's contributions by requiring that they be seen. Now, if we want to have a rule that says the person's name has to be listed, or if not listed, then referenced when they do speak, so that it is clear as to who's speaking. I think there are ways to meet the goals of the requirement without limiting opportunities.
Yeah, Seth, that makes sense, both from kind of 2 different accessibility perspectives. So I think the language around that would be if possible. Amy, does that sound feasible to you?
Yeah, I think like whenever possible is great. I'm also kind of thinking like, what's going to happen if somebody wants to speak and they can't put their camera on? Are they going to get kicked out of the committee? Are they going to get deported out of Durham? Like, no, of course not. Right. Yeah. And so yeah, these are like, your best goodwill, and stuff is going to come up and you're going to be traveling for work, and like, we get it. But, yeah.
No, I think that's helpful. So if we feel comfortable as a group, can we just look at the first set from the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee and maybe go one by one and see if those are ringing true with us, yes or no? And then we can also add additional ones if we want. Does that sound okay to everyone as kind of a process? Wonderful. So some of these, again, are very technical in nature. And I think there's one or two that maybe don't quite apply to us because we weren't a new committee when these were formed. So I might give my personal opinion on those as we go through, if that's all right with you all. The first one is raise your hand when you wish to speak. Again, whenever possible. If you're on like a phone, you can't do that. But for those of you that, or those of us, right, who are able to use that function, does everyone feel good about that? I don't know why my computer's making noise. Sorry about that. All right. So we feel good about that one. Oh yes, Amy.
This is literally the last thing I'm saying. I promise you guys. But I do feel like there's our meetings. This is just something is going to be in the back of my head, and so I just want to plant the seed for y'all too. Like sometimes we have presentations, and in those presentations, like from an outside person, absolutely raise your hand. Absolutely wait for like the question period and stuff. But I mean, I think there are times when it is a bit more of a casual, like working session type of a thing. So here's another one where I would like to have the where possible, or like where, when it makes sense. Like, I don't know. Cause I don't want it to also, I think one of the things that we have really done over the past few months, maybe the past year or so, is become a little more familiar with each other. And I don't want to take away that by formalizing, in order to say thank you, Ahmed, for whatever, like I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. Go ahead, Valen.
I echo what Amy was sharing, and just for all of the comments that have been mentioned about it. What I was thinking, instead of sort of the one by one, going through the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee's rules, because like the raise your hand, I mean, I think that's helpful when, if there's something and we all are trying to talk and share our opinions. But I feel like looking at the 3 sets of examples, it's sort of like, I wonder if there's a way we can take like the department norms, but make our committee rules or best practices, like make them in line with whatever our norms are, instead of like the raise your hand is kind of like classroom rules to me, not minimizing it, but like my thought behind this was more or less like how we maybe interact and engage like with one another, and with like if we have people from other organizations come on board. So maybe more or less like, keeping things like keeping a passion about maybe addressing a topic and not maybe like addressing a person or something like that. So I just wonder if, I think it's helpful to kind of go bullet by bullet of the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee, but at the same time, like maybe if we kind of ponder like sort of what are our core goals here, and then what does it look like when our committee is like, when we're engaging like in this work.
I think that's a good point, Valen. Given that and kind of the spirit of that, the third set, and I'm sorry, it's in the same message. I should have made it 2 different messages. But the sample from a meeting space, is that also what you were referring to, Amy, when you said the CDD meeting? Yeah. I think those are a meeting between, if to overuse that word, between the idea of norms and the idea of quote unquote rules or classroom rules, as Valen was saying. So have folks had the chance to read over kind of the example from a meeting space norms, which is the third one, and I'll repost that as a separate message just to make it really clear. Because I think those are getting at what you're saying, Valen, which is more they're values based rather than maybe logistics based, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So how do folks want to proceed? Do we want to kind of go one by one and give each one a thumbs up? Are there ones that are really speaking to people? I will say as a caveat, the confidentiality is like confidentiality. This is a public meeting. So, so I think, and our communications are public as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say that one. Are there others that folks really like or really don't like or don't think are applicable? Yes, Alicia.
So it's okay to disagree, period. I didn't think of the other stuff. I'm a person of little words, like just get straight to the point. I'm not sure about you have the permission to be messy. I think affordable housing is already messy with all the rules and regs and funding sources and all that stuff. So if we are talking about this, let's try to talk about it from an informed perspective with the tools that we have, with the resources that have been shared by the community development department, what's on the website, all that good stuff. So I don't think I'm a fan of you have permission to be messy.
I think that's very valid. And then Ahmed, I like your both you, Alicia, we have permission to disagree, period. I think that's important. I think that may be in the place of you have permission to be messy. Because it looks like that's not otherwise. Yeah. Well, it's okay to disagree. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And then using a solution-oriented approach. Ahmed, would you mind speaking a little bit more about that? And then Seth will come to you if that's okay.
Yeah, I think it complements the complete opposite of being messy. If anything, it's like, we're here hopefully to clean up the mess and try to make sense of what I think Alicia making a good point. It's already a mess. So coming with kind of a solution-oriented approach, I think I'd like to at least add that or remove permission to be messy.
So what I'm going to do, if it's just to help keep track for myself, is the ones we've agreed upon. I'm going to put those as individual messages in the chat, if that's okay with everyone, and we can continue the discussion. Seth.
So yeah, I agree with Ahmed on that. One of the rules in the Army was if you see a problem and don't have a solution, we call that complaining. So yeah, I like the idea of coming with a solution. The two that really spoke out to me were the show respect for others and opinions and presume goodwill. And if we really do, I very much agree with Alicia on this as well, as fewer words the better. And so I feel like both those are just give grace, provide grace. So I definitely think if those aren't included, then something of that line should be. Because I think that all speaks to we're going to disagree, we're going to be messy, even if we don't mean to be. Like we're going to disagree, we're going to fight, we're going to argue, we're going to collaborate, and we're going to work together, and we're all going to get through this. And government's messy. It just inherently is sometimes, and American government is designed to be. We have built it to be in conflict. And so by maintaining that level of grace, I think it allows for a lot more freedom of expression and honesty and openness.
I agree, Seth. I think for now I put the long versions of the two you suggested in the chat. If we really do want to collapse, I think that those are two related but not quite the same concepts, if that makes sense. So I would love to keep some version that has those concepts in them. I think grace is a wonderful thing if we want to use that in place as like wording, but just want to make sure we're recognizing that you can presume others have goodwill, but it's also important to be respectful. I think those are the two sides of that coin. Amy and then Rashaki.
Yeah, because I think, again, you just said this, the presume goodwill and respect others don't feel like quite the same to me, but they're the same coin. Because another thing that I like about the presume goodwill is that none of us here, well, some of us here, most of us here are not experts in all of the nuances and details of this. And so like some of us are going to get some things wrong. And that's the presumed goodwill. Like, don't assume that I'm saying this because I'm trying to, I have some agenda or whatever. Just assume, but the respect others and their opinions is a little bit different. It's like, like there you should be having an informed opinion. So yeah, to me they feel like slightly different, and I kind of like having both of them. And I definitely like the presumed goodwill one, since most of us are not subject matter experts and are coming at this as a just an engaged citizen.
Yeah. Thanks, Amy. Rashaki?
I'd like to circle back to it's okay to disagree, and then the remainder of that bullet point, I think they meant attack problems, not people. I would change it from attack to address problems and not people. Because I do think that's important. To everyone's point, we're all passionate about this. This is volunteer work, so we're all here, because we're passionate about the cause. And sometimes that passion, when there's a disagreement, can come across as an attack on an individual as opposed to the actual perspective or the issue at hand. So I think I think it's kind of important to leave some semblance of that in there, that we're addressing issues, not people.
Amy mentioned it might be capture solution oriented. I think it might be worth saying twice, Amy, if we're okay with that. I think a solutions oriented approach is applicable to everyone too, right? Like external, internal. I would love to recommend, if it's all right with y'all, to listen and show you here. I think that again, it's a related goal, but still a little bit different. I think it's a prerequisite to a lot of what we're speaking about, and it might be obvious, but I think sometimes it's the clarity is worth it. If that's all right with everyone. Are there others that folks feel passionate about in one way or another, or would like to add to this list? Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the chat. All right.
I'd like to circle back to something from the first list that Seth kind of evolved a suggestion around. I think it would be a good idea that if we're not on camera, to introduce yourself.
Yeah, to say your name before you say something.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we've got some values oriented ones. I think it's totally appropriate if we also have logistics oriented ones. So if others will presume goodwill and give me grace as I type these out. I'm gonna try to do the speaking one.
We haven't adopted them yet, so I'm over here.
We've got all sorts
judging you.
Thanks so much. All right. So trying to capture kind of the camera and state your name in one. So when possible, and y'all correct me if we want any changes, be on camera when speaking. If not possible, state your name before speaking. Does that sound comfortable to folks? Just as a logistics one. That's important for the public record as well. So I think it's important both ways. Great. Any other kind of logistics ones having to do with, I know we talked about raising your hand. Do we want to come back to that, or do we feel, I think what was said about it was relevant, which is that it's discussions on Zoom are sometimes hard. Because they're not as naturally free flowing, and we don't necessarily want to make them any less natural or free flowing when applicable. I think I know again, it might be obvious. I'd like to enter one speaker at a time. I think that's just a logistics thing and in any setting, but especially with Zoom, because if multiple people are speaking, you can't hear either person usually. Or the person with like a slightly louder microphone wins out, right? So if that's all right with you all, I'd like to kind of enter that as a logistics one. Cool. Any other values or logistics based norms or ground rules we'd like to establish? think this is a really good list. So what I would super appreciate, and Valen, I'm volunteering you for this. Tell me if it's not in your bandwidth. But if there's a possibility that you and I and Maggie could work together to get these written up and maybe sent out to folks so that everyone who isn't here gets a chance to see them. And so that we all get a chance to re-review them. We don't have to approve anything right now. I'm just really wanted to have the discussion. And I think that'll make sure that we're capturing people who don't happen to be here tonight. And maybe at the next meeting, we can vote on them. Does that sound amenable to folks?
I like that. It gives us something to work with, and then it'll give us something where we can send it back out, like you said, and people can mull over it before we vote to finalize it.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for engaging. I know those discussions, I've been in many of them as a social worker, as you can probably imagine. And so sometimes they can get a little rote, but I really appreciate everyone's engagement and us finding stuff that works for us, rather than going with something that may not be a good fit. So I appreciate y'all's input. Okay, we do have an attendee. It is the time for public questions and comments. Maggie, if you'd like to give her permission to enter in case she has anything to say. Hi, Jocelyn. Sorry if this is kind of sudden, but thank you for attending tonight. We super appreciate it. We've been doing a lot of board business. And if there's anything you'd like to ask or comment on, we'd love to hear it.
I actually don't have anything specific at this time, but thank you for checking in. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah. And feel free, thank you again for coming to attend any of our future meetings, to contact folks via email. We appreciate your engagement. Okay. Any other announcements from anyone? Okay, I would like to, this is an announcement, but it is a thank you. I'd like to thank Robert and Valen for their collaboration this year, for being part of the executive committee, and for all of you, for those of you who wrote me and are interested in doing leadership for the next year, for those of you who served on the subcommittee, and just everyone who's here, right? Everyone who attends and gives of their really precious time, the commodity none of us can make more of, to engage with this group, to engage with the city and the county, and to make a difference in the community. I so appreciate it. It's been an honor serving. I did reapply next year. I'm not leaving if the city council lets me stay. We'll see. But I'm thrilled to have been on this executive committee for 2 years. And I know that we're going in a wonderful direction thanks to you all's work. Yeah, I'll be around, but I'm thrilled to be handing it off to others as I work and pursue a PhD simultaneously. I will be thrilled to be a member again. But yeah, thank you all. It's been wonderful. And just a quick reminder, we already talked about it, but next month our meeting will be in person at the Community Development Department for a little bit of board business, and then some food and some fellowship, and just some gratitude for both our work and that of the folks who are implementing the funding that we have all been hearing about throughout our tenure and on Saturday at the retreat. Maggie, is there anything I've missed?
No, Leah, I just also want to thank everyone for their attendance and support of the retreat. Like Reginald shared, we had a lot of fun in community development. I know me in particular. It was a really fun way to spend a Saturday morning. We got to quote unquote nerd out about the work that we do and talk about the grants we administer and the funding. So that was really enjoyable, and appreciate everyone for participating in that. So thank you, and Appreciate you all and your attendance tonight. That's all I have, Leah. Look for some emails from me about the recognition dinner.
Great. Thanks. All right, everyone. And since Seth, our parliamentarian, is present, I will make sure that I do not call for a vote about this adjournment. But I look forward to seeing you all in June. Thank you again, and looking forward to another great year with this committee. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night, all.
you. Have a good
Good night, everyone.
one. Bye-bye.